Hey, Don's fans, I'm here with the legendary, the greatest, the absolute best sports anchor and weekday reporter for KPIX.
And I paid her to say that.
Wait, I didn't even finish. For KPIX, CBS affiliate in the Bay Area, the lovely Vern Glenn. Thank you so much for being with me today.
Well, again, you sent me a text and I said, you had me at Hey Vern.
Well, so Vern, listen, it's been said that, you caught the sportscaster bug in 10th grade. And, I'm kind of around that era, and there were no classes. There were no media departments in high school. I'm wondering, how did you get that going? Who was a role model for you, or why did you love sports so much?
It was a guy named Ken Strayhorn, who was the sports anchor at the ABC affiliate in my hometown, Richmond, Virginia. It was then WXEX, TV8 Live Eyewitness News. And so I was there, and I identified with Ken because he wouldn't just talk about it, coat, tie, makeup, and these are the scores and these are the highlights. He would actually get out there and suit up and practice with football teams, or he practiced with a baseball team. It'd be like, wow. So every night it was like, well, what's Ken going to do next? And he would bring his own gear, he'd bring his own camera, shoot his own stuff. I was like, this guy is awesome. So I identified that with that. I love that. I love sports. And then one day I was watching NBC Game of the Week with Vin Scully. And the more I watched it, I was like, you know what? That's what I want to do. So when it came time to go to college, I went to the University of Virginia. I majored in broadcast journalism, but I had to work right away coming out of college. And so I took a sales job with an aluminum company in Richmond. And at night, I would make cold calls, try and talk to radio and TV sports guys to try to gain some kind of advice on sticking to it and persevering. One day, I called this one guy. His name was Gil Tyree at that same Channel 8 station at WXEX. He had just gotten to town from West Palm Beach, Florida market. Didn't know the market. There was no internship programs. There was no big sports staff. It was just him and maybe one other guy. And so I asked him, hey, why don't I come down and help you? And so he said, yeah, come on down. So I started going to the TV station at night and working and helping and producing these shows for him for the 11, and he liked me. And then what happens in this business, the number 2 guy left the station to go to a larger market. All of a sudden, they needed to find a guy that they could pay 25 hours a week and with some sort of knowledge of television. Hello, here I am. So I auditioned for it, and I got the job. That was April 13th, 1985.
Well, I think what's amazing about you at KRON, you were really notorious for throwing yourself into features to the point where they called you Mr. Involvement.
Yes.
And I was reading some of this. I'm like, it's crazy. You did stories like bungee jumping, skydiving, yep, bull riding, yep, dirt bike crash.
Yeah, I did that dirt bike crash cost me a tryout with American Gladiators, which was supposed to be the next week. And I didn't know what had happened at the time. I just know that my left arm was sore after crashing into this wall at the Cow Palace. So I go to the doctor just to check it out. And then he comes out and says, hey, Mr. Involvement, how did you bust your arm? I go, wow, you got 10 minutes? It'll be on in just a few minutes. And so we sat and watched the crash. And yeah, and that was it.
Yeah, I love this quote, and I think it's so important for people that are in video that want to do anything with sports. You said, we have to inform, but in sports, there is also an opportunity to entertain, show a
yep, personality.
And you said this was right in your wheelhouse.
Yeah, it certainly was, because if you break down a newscast, you have 2 blocks of news, the A block and the B block. The A block and the B block, they're serious blocks. We're curing cancer, and this is what's happening in the world. And this is, there's no time for any kind of light stuff. I mean, it's just the facts. Here it is. This is the scene. Back to you. And then you've got sports. Sports is meant to be fun. It's balls, it's strikes, it's touchdowns, it's goals. Sports, to me, brings people together. I've never seen anything where total strangers can hug each other after something special has happened. And I wanted to share in that joy and pass on what happened in my own style which is the style of being on the couch with you and watching these highlights and relating what happened in these highlights. And I'll do anything I can to make you look at the screen. Look what happened next. Pow, zowie, whoa, anything to make you stop what you're doing, because most people are doing something else at the same time to look at the screen. And that's my whole thing.
Well, you know, it's amazing. You've been doing great work for decades, but only 3 years ago do you decide, you know, to send in some of your videos for Emmys, right? And now,
right.
third year, you've won 3 Emmys back to back. I mean, you are the man.
Well, there's a story behind that. I've always been one of those guys that was like, hey, look, the real players know who the real players are. Do I need a 2-pound statue to validate, you know, what I do to my peers? No, I really didn't. But a few years ago, one of our great producers / editors, shooters said, Vern, why don't you enter? I mean, come on, you've been around forever. Why don't just enter in something and see what happens. You know, I thought about it. I was like, all right, I'll just enter something. And I won. And what it made special, Katie, is my mom and my dad happened to be here on vacation when that happened. So I brought them with me. I brought my in-laws with me, my wife, my brother-in-law, sister-in-law. They were all there. The next year happens. Well, Vern, you gotta defend. I mean, come on. I'm like, well, all right. So I entered again, won again. And then this year, fortunately, it was the trifecta. I don't know what happened in the filtering process, but in the end, I'm like the only guy. So there you go.
Oh, it's awesome and so well deserved. But you know, just kind of transitioning into your family, this was so cute. And in your, I think it was your second Emmy that you won. You thanked everybody and you said your darling wife, who continues to call you while you're on air just to tell you that your boys are fighting, which I thought was hilarious. But you know, you've lived in Marin, your wife and you have 3 boys. 2 of them, I think you said, were in college. 1 is in high school.
That's correct.
Talk about that.
The Glenn household, it's not, they're not the sports nuts that I am. I have, of the 3 knuckleheads that I have, the second one, he's the only one that I have an outside chance of him actually watching a game with me. The other ones are like, smell you later. They'd rather be swimming, or they're really out doing something instead of actually sitting there and watching the game. Now, they all play fantasy leagues, so they pay attention to what's going on, but watching something with me, they just rather do something. To each their own. To each their own. Now, my wife, who is she's the CEO and general manager and president of the family. She takes on so much and keeping after these guys and keeping after me. She's got 4 guys in the house. The only other girl in the house is the dog, and so she throws herself into what they're doing in their lives. And if something happens, she's going to call me. Doesn't matter what time it is. You know, if Nikki, Jake, or Zach did something, then she's going to call me. Doesn't matter whether it's 6:25 in the evening and I'm right in the middle of the air. I feel the buzz in my pocket, and then when I get a chance and I look, there she is. So that's how she rolls.
Well, before we go, I want to bring on a special guest to say something to you, and it's our athletic director, Joan McDermott. Joan, what would you like to say to Vern?
Well, I mean, number one, I just want to thank you, Vern, for everything you have done for our athletic department, all the support you've given. And, you know, the great story is my first day on the job was September 15th in 2016. I actually met you. You ironically came to the gym to do an interview with Jennifer Azzi because she had just retired from coaching. Mm-hmm. And I thought, what a special guy to come in and do this. And you've always been that way. You've done, been the MC at our crazy tip-off dinners for basketball. Mm-hmm. And you do so many special stories on our program. So I just want to let you know how important you are to us and how much we appreciate you.
Well, I appreciate the kind words. I mean, my allegiance to USF goes back to when I started at KRON TV here in the Bay Area 30 years ago, if you can believe that. One of the things that's near and dear to my heart, and I talked to Katie about this, all my life, I've been a grinder. I mean, I've had to work really hard for everything I've gotten. And so I see these student athletes and they look the same. I mean, they're like me. I mean, they come from the, you work hard, you're going to get rewarded. And they're rewarded by a great education at USF. Here it is, a school that's in San Francisco, urban. And I just identified with that blue collar kind of thing, because that's pretty much me. I mean, that's kind of how I roll. And so I just automatically identified it. And that's why I just feel kind of close to it in a lot of times, but more than my own alma mater, UVA.
Yeah, well, we really appreciate what you do. Joan said it best, and just thank you so much for being on this Dawns from Distance interview. We really appreciate it.
Thanks, Vern.
My pleasure.
You're a huge part of our family, big part of our family.